Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a special edition of our Tuesday virtual happy hour. I'm excited to share a beer with you, and I'm also excited for this shirt that I'm wearing. It's pretty epic. I found it online. You should go find it too. So I want to bring into my guest tonight, Bob Olson. Bob is part of the amazing brewery in Bolero Snort in New Jersey. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Bob and I go way back many, many years now, and we have a lot to discuss here. But the most important part of our virtual happy hour is all about the beers we are drinking. So, Bob, I'll pass it off to you first. What are you drinking in tonight's virtual happy hour?
I got a fresh batch of our Orange Cream Pop OVB. So, nice nostalgia-inducing beer that we make on a regular basis. Nice fun.
Awesome.
One, so.
Very cool. Well, I've got over here on the beer cam. I don't have, unfortunately, Bob's beer available for me. So I'm drinking a Lawson Super Session number 4. We talked about this last time with Sean Lawson. This is a super easy drinking 4.8 beer there. So if you're out there, crack open your beer. I'll do that and hopefully not spill it everywhere. Pour it into your glass. Make sure you check in on Untappd and tag the venue as Untappd at home. It's a great way to show that you're being safe out there with everything that's going on there. It also allows you to see what people are drinking all around the world. So we'll raise our glass to Bob and everybody out there. And thanks for joining on this virtual happy hour. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
So obviously, I mentioned earlier, Bob and I go way back. One of the cool things about Bolero Snort, which is located in New Jersey, is that, Bob and I became friends on Untappd and got connected that way. Then we found out that our wives knew each other, which made it even crazier from that perspective. So we've been in communication for almost 10 years now because of Untappd being that 10 years old. And, on the first anniversary of Untappd, I contacted Bob, who was working, as a home brewer at the time, to brew a beer specifically for our first anniversary. And Bob, what was that experience like going through that process? Because you were still doing home brewing at that time for all the stuff you were doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fermented right on the other side of this wall, actually. So
yeah.
But no, it was just a cool experience to get to have our beer served in a public forum well before we were actually doing this professionally. So I think it was almost another 2-year journey from that time before we actually started making beer on a commercial basis. But
yeah, it's been pretty crazy to see you guys grown up as a brewery. Obviously, you've opened up your brand new tap room over the last, I think, a year or two, maybe even less than that.
Not even.
Wow.
It feels like it.
Well, being friends with you for so long, it's always been about when's that brewery going to come up, when's that brewery. So talk us a little bit about, that particular process of opening up your brewery, where you're located, and obviously, what's going on in that area.
Yeah. So we started as gypsy brewers or contract brewers. So we kind of handed our recipes off and let it be in somebody else's care for the first 6.5 years of existence. And it was always the dream to get to where we are today. It just certainly took a lot longer and cost a lot more, as so many people in this industry will often say. But we broke ground on a brand new facility in March and then started brewing the first week of December. So we grand open Martin Luther King weekend in Carlstadt. We have a nice new 16,000 square foot facility. It's got a American made 30-barrel brew house, and
nice.
The most exciting part of it is finally getting to take beer and be in charge of it from grain to glass, and having that hands-on every single day, being able to taste it, as opposed to our last partnership, before opening up was almost a 4-hour ride away. So we were there for brew days, we were there for packaging days, but it's not the same as when you can, be a part of it every single day and kind of taste along the way. Brewers are often like chefs, so you got to kind of like pick and see and see where it's going and adjust along the way. So I think the beers that we've been putting out since we opened or started brewing in December, just kind of taking it to the next level. So it's exciting to finally see that come to fruition.
Absolutely. It's been great to see your journey from where you started from where today. We got a comment here from Beers My Church and said, hey, met Bob originally at a drinking buddy. We all know who this person is.
It's like a walk down memory lane for sure.
Exactly. His beers have played so well out for since their place. And that's kind of we want to get into from your beers perspective. Obviously, you guys do very unique beers from that perspective in terms of the ingredients you guys put in. Talk us through how that kind of came to be. I mean, obviously every brewery has their own kind of idea of what they want to be, but we talked at the Beer Advocates festival this in January, and I had a beer with cake in it. Talk us through how all this stuff comes together and how your ideas kind of get into the mixer and come out as a beer.
We're fat kids at heart, so we try and jam those flavors into beer. But no, for us, I mean, if you really look at a theme that I think's been consistent from when I was homebrewing to now, there's a lot of food inspired flavors in our beer. So sometimes that actually means putting cake batter in or Oreos in or something crazy, and a lot of times it's using other either building a grist or using cocoa nibs and vanilla and like real ingredients to elicit those same flavors. So it's always something since I was homebrewing that has kind of been at the core of Bolero, and it gives us the ability to kind of have fun with beer. And if you see our branding, I mean, we take the quality of the beer very seriously, but not ourselves. We like to have fun. And for us, beer is bigger than just the liquid in the glass. It's the experience. It's who you're drinking it with. It's what it, memories it might elicit. So like OVB is like a creamsicle. It kind of every time you take a sip, it takes you back to your childhood, having like that creamsicle melt down your hand, and now you get to drink it in a liquid form. So, but we certainly love to experiment with flavors, a lot of cocktail-inspired things. Heavy use of fruit, a lot of vanilla. And we're obsessed with cows and bulls, so a lot of lactose.
Speaking of cows and bulls, we talked a little bit earlier about how you guys were brewing the first beer, and I was showing this in the early show, but I actually have one of the original beers here. This was made literally probably 9 years ago. This was the first ever anniversary beer made for Untappd, which is pretty cool. It's got your logo on there, the old bowl with the Untappd kind of logo there. We got the phone in the hand there. We were joking. I'm never going to open this beer. I don't think ever. So I don't. This is an IPA.
I might have to have you sign a waiver just for handling it at this point, because you might own a brewery in Carlstadt pretty soon, and the debt that goes along with it. Don't shake it up too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's been one of those things where I have 2 bottles of this in case I've moved 3 times since we've done this anniversary. So I'm like, all right, one's going to get lost somehow. I know it's going to break. So I got some backups, but I still have all 3 of them. And it's amazing to see the growth from where we started from the very first anniversary. We were joking before that we had it at a place called Rattle and Hum in New York City, which is unfortunately no longer open. They closed about 2 years ago. Bob was homebrewing at the time. You came in, we couldn't sell the beer legally, so we had to give away for high fives. You get a pint of his beers, and I was still, working on this part-time, and I was having my computer there. I was fixing an issue with the website crashing at the same time that people were pouring the beer. And it was just like a crazy experience to kind of see where that came from to where we are today. So it's really, really awesome, to see your growth and where you started, and specifically with home brewing, which actually leads to a question from one of the audience members here. Rick Willis said, how difficult was it to change your recipes from home brewing to contract brewing, or even to continue on that path to going to your own one?
Scaling certainly is a challenge. We're brewing, as a home brewer, I would do 5 and 10 gallon batches. So we started contract brewing at 30 barrel batches. So there was certainly a learning curve. Specialty malts go a lot further on the commercial level, your extractions and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information out there in terms of, if you're making that jump, how to kind of help scale it to not just run it over, but I would say a lot of trial and error. And I mean, it's no different when you're like, well, how much, spearmint should we be putting in this beer that's supposed to taste like a thin mint? And you're like, well, we'll put this in, and then we'll know, next time more or less, or, run back out to the store and get some more. So there's a lot of those when you're kind of trying to push some boundaries or do things that are not the norm. So
nice. Yeah, it's definitely a difference between going from that level to the next level here. And obviously you've generated a lot of fans and people there. Let's go to some shout outs here from Katie. Says, love Bolero Snort. Cheers. So thank you, Katie, for watching in. I'm sure Bob appreciates it. Cheers. Another one here from Brian, drinking a double in honor of Bob Olson and Untappd Live. It's a collab with Imprint Brewing for that one. So thank you, Brian, for
double rainbow.
Yes, for checking in. We really appreciate it.
1,200 pounds of Skittles in that one.
Jeez.
Candy is, we don't want to get that C and D. So
I appreciate. I mean,
it's a
speaking of
made up
that,
word. It's just rainbow.
yeah, I like it. I mean, how do you get that much of the candy in the beer? I mean, there's got to be a lot of processing that has to go in there to kind of melt those things down. But where do you start? Like, how do you even know how much to put in to even satisfy with it? Is it more of a trial and error thing you mentioned, or is there like a recipe that you have on candy beers, I guess you could say?
With that one, it was working with Imprint, and that started as a 5-gallon batch. And our biggest fear was actually not that they would dissolve, but what color the beer would be, because if you let that melt in your hand, it gets a little gnarly looking. So we're like,
yeah, it does.
Is this going to be gray? Because it doesn't matter how good it tastes. If it's gray, nobody's going to want to drink it. But it's got a nice peachy hue. The first time we brewed it commercially, we used Free Will down in Pennsylvania, and they fermented on the Skittles.
Oh wow!
This time we have we call it the Cutie Bot. It's like an infusion tool that we use in the brewery very, very often, and they dissolve way quicker when you circulate fermenting beer through them. So
nice.
But no, it was just scaling it and saying, okay, well, if 5 gallons gets this many pounds of Skittles, how much does 60 barrels get? And this one, we used the same amount of Skittles, changed the process a little bit from last year when the first time that we did it, and we actually put like 25% more Skittles in, so it tasted better. So
nice, very nice.
Trial and error, and just experimentation.
Very cool. We got another question here from Chris, and Chris asks, "How did you come up with the Bolero name as your particular brewery?"
It's a good thing that my partner Scott's not on, because he would cringe at this. But it's an anagram of Robert Olson, so it's hidden narcissism as opposed to blatant. If you take Robert Olson, my true name, and mix it all up, you get Bolero Snort. It was very early on in my home brewing career. The first couple were Bob's Summer Ale, Bob's Pumpkin Ale. I put my face on the label. My friends were like, well, it tastes good, but if you keep putting your face on it, nobody's going to drink it. So over a couple beers, it was like, somebody was like, oh, let's see what happens if you plug your name in an anagram maker. And got as far as Bolero Snort. Somebody was like, oh, you could do a bull wearing that little like matador jacket, and the rest, as they say, is history. So logo is a little bit more streamlined now. It's come a long way from those old homebrew days, but
yeah, absolutely. Well, we were talking about the Skittles earlier. There's a comment in right here from a user. It said 1,200 pounds of Skittles in a beer. Okay, I'll visit. Definitely something cool. I hope that you go visit when it's safe to do so, because that is pretty amazing. If you're not a Skittle lover, I'm not really sure how
it's
you.
Okay, we're doing one. We're hoping this weekend we release one called Steer Burst, because you got to get the bullpup name in there. But inspired by another favorite candy of the teams. So
nice, awesome, very cool. A question here from Jim. Jim asks, Bob, what's your favorite label ever? What was your favorite label ever that you did?
Favorite label ever? This might be a loaded one, because this is the lovely artist that draws all those labels. So thanks, Jim. God, that's like asking me what my favorite child is or my favorite movie. It's dangerous. We crushed a really fun one. We did for March Madness, kind of went away this past year. So we took a bunch of our different archived beers that we haven't done in a couple of years and let people vote on Instagram instead of a typical tournament, and did a whole bracket thing, and one called Twisty Cone, which is ice cream inspired double IPA. We just actually finished the label up today, so it's fresh at the top of my mind. I mean, we do a lot of fun labels. If you look at our artwork, it's pretty crazy. And
yeah,
Jim
Jim
has a really innate ability of taking stick figures and like me making stupid facial expressions and turning it into bulls and cartoons that so. But that one was it's a real fun label. It kind of makes you feel boardwalk in summer, and so it's usually kind of on one and then on to the next. When we grand opened the new building, Jim did a really killer sketch of the building. So that's probably one of my favorites. I told him I want the original sketch to hang in my office. So
that's awesome.
Get on that, Jim. But
yeah, Jim, where is that sketch for my man Bob there? What's going on here? Yeah, it's very cool. I think that, one of the things that we talk about with you guys growing up as a brewery is, actually physically getting to work in a brewer of your own. It's got to felt amazing that first day when you came in and this is like, we did it, we've got here, what was that experience like of going through everything from contract, from home brewing? This was your life for the last, 10, 15 years. How did it feel when you finally got into that brewery and it was your own and you were able to kind of do that stuff?
A little surreal, to be honest. It was like you're so busy, and I mean, it was, as with all things, kind of down to the wire until the very last minute. And I GC'd our physical building being built from the ground up, and I had no idea. I remember I told my architect that I was like, I got this covered. He's like, you're not hiring somebody else? And I'm like, no, we'll be fine. He's like, you don't work a lot right now, right? I'm like, what's like 70 or 80 hours? He's like, oh, good. You signed up for like another 60 a week. And I'm like, I don't think there's that many. So I'm usually not like a nervous guy. I'm pretty outgoing. And we cut the ribbon like on the grand opening. We had the mayor and stuff like that. And I've never had like anxiety or panic, and it was just like it finally was like, holy crap, this actually happened. So, but really just walking into that place in the morning and like smelling a match and just being able to be a part of it from grain to glass is it's not many people I guess get to make their dreams come true. So it's really kind of cool that we got it over the hump. So.
Yeah, you and I are in the same boat with that. Obviously, I worked on Untap part-time for a long time, and able to do it full-time has been the same thing. So we're cut from the same slack.
Nothing was better than quitting that other job and just being like, now I get to just be happy every day.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
Slug through like 30 hours, and it was like the most painful thing in the world at the old thing. And I could work 100 and get up the next day and be raring to go. So
yep.
Absolutely. They say, find what you love and you won't work a day. And it certainly feels that way. We got a killer team, so it makes it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've asked questions from the users, and now it's time to play our favorite game, the speed round, lightning round, and putting Bob on the hot seat for some questions about what we need to do here for getting you some hard questions here. So we'll put 60 seconds on the clock here, and we're going to try to answer as many questions.
From New Jersey, I'm long-winded. This is never going to work.
Don't do long-winded answers. You can do this. We got some questions. So I'll put 60 seconds on the clock once I start the question here. So here we go. First question. If you could share a beer with anyone in history, dead or alive, who would you choose?
Oh, man. Gosh.
Your wife would be a good answer too.
She doesn't even drink beer anymore. No, maybe like my grandfather or something like that.
Awesome.
He passed away when I was young, so it'd be cool to reminisce with him over a beer. Somebody from the past, bring him back for one now that I'm old enough to drink.
There you go. Next question. If you could collaborate with brew a beer in collaboration with a musical artist or a group, who would you choose?
This is the one I'd get in trouble with my wife. I'd have to say Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, because
great answer.
She would kill me. So
that's a good one. All right, let's go to the next one here. If you had to move your brewery somewhere else than where it is today, where would you move it to?
God, it took so long to get to this point. No, I don't know. I went to school down in South Carolina, so maybe down south someplace.
All right, we'll ask one more question here as the timer is run. If you could invent a one beer style in history, what would you have invented?
Invent one beer style? The original lager, like OG slow pour pills. We'll go.
There you go. I like it. Not the traditional IPA answer, and I like that answer. So that's very, very good. Very good.
We make a lot of them, but it's not what we're all drinking most days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Bob. You played the game very well. You answered the questions. You didn't make a mistake, because there were no mistakes, because it's your own answers, so it's all good.
You killed me with that first one. I could have pondered that for 60 minutes and not come up with the right answer. So
I like it. Well, let's talk a little about your taste room. Obviously, it's brand new. You kind of opened it this year. What are you guys doing now with everything that's going on in the world with COVID-19? Are you guys doing delivery, curbside? What are you doing to help keep things going on the taproom side?
So yeah, we grand opened Martin Luther King weekend. So we had towards the end of January. So not even two full months. We were just kind of prepping up for St. Patrick's Day and thinking like, oh man, like we finally got this figured out. And then the world turned upside down as it did for so many. We didn't get home delivery initially here in New Jersey, and then they gave it to us, and then they took it away. So Mark, one of our team members, was joking around. He just passed his 1-year anniversary, and he's like, "Well, this has been fun. I've seen 4 different business models in the past, 12 months, because you just kind of have to change." But we built our entire business based on distribution. So those partnerships that we kind of fostered over the years certainly helped us when draft kind of just instantly went away. We still had our retail partnerships, so that was instrumental for the first couple weeks, and then I think we've always done a good job kind of adapting and changing as necessary. So home delivery's been big. They up here in New Jersey just gave us outdoor dining. We have a little 16 by 20 patio, which would not really fit a whole lot of people and keep them safe. So we're on a corner, and there was this vacant paper street. So in about a week and a half, we built almost a 5,000 square foot beer garden on.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of joke around like, well, like this almost kind of worked out nicely from that standpoint. But this town had this vacant road that looked like crap, and we went to them. We're like, hey, this executive order said basically we could do whatever we want. So could we take this road and make it look nice? And they're like, the mayor's wife came like the first weekend we were open, and they're like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. So we, have a lot of, fortunate to be able to have space and have it be not just a parking lot. And I mean, we're right outside of Manhattan. We're 2 minutes away from MetLife Stadium. So there's a lot of people in our area that either don't have yards or have very tiny ones. So we said, how can we make this kind of be their yard to hang out and feel safe and have a good time and kind of forget about all the nonsense that's going on. But we had a scrappy team. We made it through this. We didn't furlough anybody. There were certainly some weeks where it was tighter than others, but we're a family. We stuck together, and hopefully it continues that way.
Yeah, and absolutely. And, the comments coming in here, some more shout outs that I want to put on the screen here. This one's from Joshua. Joshua says, cheers. Love Bolero. Proud to carry their brews in ShopRite liquor stores in Lodi. The social distancing collab with our nomination is great. Thank you very much, Joshua. We really appreciate it. Thank you for writing in. Another one here from William says, love the space, the team, the beers, and the labels. Overall, great experience. It's always had at that brewery. So awesome. Thank you so much, William. I'm sure Bob appreciates that.
Without a doubt, we don't get to do what we love without you guys drinking it. So many thanks.
Very cool. Let's go to another question here. Let's see here. Let's put Rick back up on here. Rick's always watching the show. Thank you, Rick, for watching the show. I've seen your comments many times. Rick says, what hobbies do you have away from brewing? You talk about working so much. Anyways, what other hobbies do you have in there in terms of besides brewing?
I build a lot of Legos with my sons. That's about the extent of it. I used to, have an ongoing battle with trying to keep my lawn green in the warmer months, but it's kind of like eat, sleep, breathe, work. But I love what I do. So I feel myself walking into the building and the endorphins just flowing. So I guess I don't need much outside of it. I don't know really how to function outside of it.
I hear you. So basically we're going to see you on the Lego Masters
every once in a while and trying to disconnect and turn off.
So very good.
Micromatch.
Another question we have from Tom put on the screen here. He says he's got a home delivery from Bolero 4 times, which is great. Do you think this could be a continuing thing after all this is over? Putting you on the spot here with the delivery after everything's over.
As of right now, we get 6 months after the state of emergency is lifted, or when we get 100% tasting room capacity, whichever comes later. And pretty sure we're still operating under the state of emergency from Hurricane Sandy, which was like many years ago. So I would say it's safely through the end of next year, and God willing, beyond that. There's some stuff going on in the legislative side of things where they're trying to help us out, and thank goodness, right? I think government officials are kind of seeing like we need to help everybody who took this jump and made this plunge and try and help them be successful in any way or shape that we can. So hopefully for a long time, it lets people stay safe, which is the most important thing that we could do right now as a a country and a people. So,
Mhm.
but we get at least 6 months when this is all over. So we have a while that we'll be happy to knock on your door and drop some beer.
Awesome. That's great. We talked earlier in our show before we went online about other than beer, and one of our moderators, John, who's behind the scenes there, is asking a question. What would you drink to relax if there was no beer? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll let you answer it from that perspective.
Probably bourbon, although it's been a fair amount of gin and tonics now that it's a little bit warmer. The occasional mojito, but I enjoy my spirits.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've never personally been into hard liquor in any way, shape, or form, which is odd. And I'm also the odd person that doesn't like carbonated beverages like seltzer or anything else, but I do love beer. So you can never put me in that question because I don't even know. Beer is
like the answer is beer.
Yes, the answer is always beer for me. So yeah, a lot of great stuff there on that avenue. And one of the cool things about your brewery as well is all about your labels. We talked about the cool things that you've been doing with your labels and the artwork and what have you. I got to ask this question. Maybe it's not an appropriate question to ask, but have you ever been served a cease and desist by some of these big companies? Because you guys get very close to your logos on representation of some of these things.
We certainly toe the line on some things more than others. And there's certainly conversations where you're like, well, we need a one-off brand that we know we're only going to do one, so that at least if you get one, you're like, well, it's gone and we won't do it again. We're sorry. So OBB that I originally that I'm drinking right now was our first way back in the day. And it's owned by Unilever, which happens to be in Englewood Cliffs, which is right down the road from us. So the very first batch of it was, I mean, if you looked at like a popsicle box, it was almost a clean cut, rip off of it. Same colors and all that kind of stuff. And the only thing they took issue was the word creamsicle. They own the trademark to that. And in food and beverage, they own creamsicle, popsicle, and anything ending in ICLE. So even trying to get creative and spell it with a K, you're technically still in violation. So my peers, just be careful. Don't send it to New Jersey because you'll get caught. But we hadn't gotten another one until I was talking to my attorney one day about how we got that one many, many years ago. And I hung up and I got one, I guess it was about a year ago for the original Skittle collab with Imprint, which was called Taste the Rainbow. We dropped the Taste the because they were like, that's our slogan. And so
definitely people are confused when we go to the store, right? Because they, a bag of Skittles or a beer. I would definitely be concerned as a person there. We got an actual celebrity here, a New Jersey celebrity, John Hall, wrote a comment here and he says, "Will Bob ever run out of bowling cow puns?"
Absolutely not. we at some point have a plan for one that's just going to be called Running Out of Bull Puns, and it's going to be a bull literally running out of like a newspaper that's just that's thousands that we've come up with that we haven't used yet. So not a chance in hell, John Hall.
You heard it here first. So, well, Bob, I want to thank you so much for chatting with us this evening. It's been great to kind of connect with you. We haven't chatted in a very long time. And I always look at this every day when I come to my office and I see this thing and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it's been 10 years. So thank you so much. Really excited for all the great stuff that you've done. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of let people know one more time where you're located, your social media handles, all that fun stuff that I know you're a big fan of. So let the world know where they can find you.
It's at Bolero Snort, not Stout, not Snout. It's Snort because if not, my name would not be Robert Olson. But Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. When the world allows it, you find yourself in northern New Jersey. We're literally a mile away from Giants MetLife Stadium. So certainly come pay us a visit. We'd love to have you in for a beer.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Really appreciate you being part of the show.
Cheers.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate you tuning in. Obviously, with the holiday that's coming up, we're taking a little bit of a break. We'll be back next Tuesday for a special session. Check out Untappd.tv for all the scheduling that we'll be having there. And we appreciate you checking us out this evening. So raise your glass one more time. Mine is empty, so we'll have to fix that problem. But thank you for watching tonight, and cheers.